Bob, we talked before the season that when you have a lot of newcomers in the defensive backfield, communication issues are going to come up. And unfortunately on Saturday came up against a burner who, turns a 10-yard run into a 70-yard touchdown. When you look back on the film, is communication really the biggest issue there?
Yeah, communication, alignments. Their quarterback played a heck of a game. All those things. The best coach in all of football, they're struggling with it. And so it's not uncommon. It's almost more you see it because all you're focused on is what you're doing. And, we got to get better at it. We're working at it. And, I think we got a really resilient group, and they'll continue to fight and bounce back.
We saw that last year from your team. Each time you lost, it almost seemed like a new team sprung from it. So what you've seen the last couple of days in practice, are you seeing that similar kind of resilience?
Yeah, I think it was the same team, but we just didn't make the mistakes. We play hard, and we do things very well. We practice hard. We do all the things as a coach that you're proud of, but we have to be more focused on a play-to-play basis so we don't sit in there and say, if we didn't have these 5 plays on offense, these 5 on defense, these 5 on special teams, that add up to that one play in a one-play game.
A lot of emphasis and talk early on about Mark Fasadi, and deservedly so. Tommy Johnson comes out on Saturday, 14 tackles, really terrific effort. Can you talk about his progression? And now, with Fasadi suffering the injury, a little bit more, of a bigger role for him now.
Yeah, that group, and I said it, Mark's been the pulse of our defense, but that group in general, throughout camp, throughout spring ball, throughout the beginning parts of the season, and it doesn't really matter who's been in there. Mark's been the leader, but Tommy's played extremely well. John and Jack Simcox, when they've been in, have played very well, and I love how physical they are. I love how they run to the football. They're in tune with the play action pass game and reading their keys, and we're getting really solid play. And we got such great play out of the guys last year, and then the year before that. And then you go back to the Steve Cody's and Mike Zuli's. We've been blessed with this tradition that dates a long time at Princeton with linebackers, and those guys take a lot of pride in fulfilling that.
Last season, obviously, it was probably the forefront of Jon Lovitz, talents or what he could do inside the 10. It was almost a given that he was going to score a touchdown. Without him, clearly, it's been more of a challenge. And Saturday, was a big example. How do you move forward trying to kind of find an identity inside the 10? And does it just have to kind of be more balanced?
Yeah, and it's been more balanced. And through 2 games, we're getting pats on the back. And then we struggle on Saturday in key situations down there. And, we got to go back to work and continue to, come up with new ideas, which we're going to have to do every week. And, even with John, we didn't have to do as many ideas, but we were coming up with new things week to week that he could excel in. Now it's, let's see, and bring a little more flavor with different guys and continue to do that and mix them in and out and really hone in on what we can do best.
The offense in general, that first drive, it was flawless, and, so well executed. And at times, there were other drives that moved right down the field, and maybe you got kind of hung up in the red zone. But then other times, 1-2 consecutive drives where it just looks totally disjointed. When you're looking at the film, what are you seeing that just sometimes is not executing on offense?
Yeah, and I said it last week, the way they play defense, they press the corners, their safeties are at 6 yards. So a lot of these gains that typically go for 8 are going for 3, 4 yards, and you're fighting to get those 4 yards because the safety is at linebacker depth.
Right.
And so it's really difficult to get out of third downs if you're trying to establish a run game. We hit a couple. Charlie had one, Colin had a couple during the game that were bigger plays. And, nobody has really executed drives on them, and they're a difficult team to do that. They've executed big plays, and we just needed a few more at different times.
Georgetown this weekend, final non-league game, another home game, another opportunity to kind of get better as you head into Ivy play. One issue, you had the big burner receivers against Columbia. It looks like Georgetown has another. I mean, their offense has had its struggles so far this season, but they've got the one guy that's put up a ton of yards.
Yeah, no, they they're gonna do some different things offensively. They, more than any team I've seen on film, like if it was a game of tag, they are so difficult to tackle. They break a ton of tackles, out in space, receivers, running backs. They get the ball to them in space, and we got to do a great job tackling, especially in the open field, and we have to do a great job with our eyes, because they're going to run screens, they're going to run quick game, they're going to run the football, and then the second they lull you to sleep, it is play action pass or double move to get the ball down the field.
We saw last year, a game that special teams really had that game a lot closer than maybe it needed to be. Overall, just how have you felt about special teams? It looks like, there have been some highs and some lows this season.
Yeah, we're returning the ball very well, and it seems like each game, and I think each game we have, set up a score with a return at different points. Tigers' punt return towards the end was a huge play for us. We have to punt the ball, and get better net out of our punt game. That's obvious, and we got to be more consistent in our kickoff team. We are pinning teams inside the 15-yard line on a semi-regular basis, but then every game there's one that gets out to the 40, and we just get out of a lane and make that critical error that gives a team a much better field position.